Shadow Treasurer Angus Taylor is speaking.
These numbers today confirm exactly that. We need a government that is focused on the Australian people, not a government that is focused on its own priorities. Sadly, the Prime Minister is part of that. We've seen a Prime Minister this week who has wanted to talk about anything except the cost of living pressures and interest rate pressures facing Australians. That is their top concern. We need a government whose priorities are the priorities of the Australian people. Happy to take questions.
Is he out of his depth?
Well, it's very clear that his priorities are different from the priorities of the Australian people. That's clear. We need a government that recognises that out here in the suburbs, across Australia, in the regions, in the cities, we have people hurting. We have people having to make sacrifices that they haven't had to make for many, many years. How are they going to pay for that mortgage? How are they going to pay for the groceries? How are they going to pay for the kids' education? They're going to take extra overtime? They're going to take on another job? They're going to sacrifice the family holiday? These are the real trade-offs that Australians are making. And we've got a government and a Prime Minister who wants to focus on everything else.
The Labor say they represent the workers, but obviously with mortgages, that's hurting their own people.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we're seeing in the mortgage belt areas, including right around here at Spring Farm, at Elderslie, near Camden, where I am today, real pain being felt by people who've taken on mortgages, expected low interest rates, were promised cheaper mortgages, and in fact they're seeing the exact opposite. We need this to be the top priority of the government. Yeah, guys? Questions?
The RBA has endorsed the government's energy policy, saying it will help put downward pressure on those prices. Isn't this confirmation that the lease is working?
Well, I'll make 2 points about this. The first is this. Electricity and energy prices are going up, not down. The government promised lower electricity prices. Australians are not seeing that, and it's clear they won't see that. That's another broken promise from Labor. And it's simply because their priorities are different from the priorities of the Australian people. The second point I'd make is that independent economist Chris Richardson said that claim is wrong. That the benefits for energy prices will be nada, his word, not mine. So it is clear that this government is not going to deliver what it promised. Look, we've seen today the Treasurer brawling with state treasurers and putting back his timeline for his plan, which is still for higher prices, and further. And he's now talking about July and saying there's really no firm timeline. This is a government that hasn't focused on these issues. It hasn't been focused on these issues. The Treasurer is in damage control. We've seen that. And it's quite simple. He can't deliver and has not focused on delivery over the summer.
But the government doesn't control the RBA.
Well, the government creates the context within which the RBA makes its decisions. And we know that. The RBA has said many times the monetary policy is made within the context of broader government policy, of its fiscal policy, of its industry policies, of its energy policy. All of these things have a big impact. And there's no question that government can do things to take pressure off interest rates and inflation. First of all, it can recommit to getting to budget balance, getting to government balance. I mean, we've got the Treasurer in the paper in the column of one of the national newspapers today talking about all these wonderful things he's going to do, but he still won't commit to budget balance. But if you want to take pressure off inflation and interest rates, you need to focus on balancing the government's budget. Otherwise, households are going to struggle to manage their budgets.
So is the Prime Minister fudging his promises as well?
Well, the Prime Minister is just talking about anything except for the cost of living pressures facing Australians. He wants to focus on everything else. We saw that in question time this week. He was not interested in answering the questions, simple questions, about the pain that Australians are feeling. He wanted to talk about other things. He wanted to focus on politics. This is a Prime Minister who promised one thing before the election and saying something quite different now. Anything else?
Angus, you've been
Yep.
brawling between the treasurers. When do you think that realistically would be the best time to see some energy price relief in New South Wales, Victoria and other states across the country?
Well, the government promised that they would deliver it in March. They promised they'd deliver it in March. They've now welched on that promise. The Treasurer today was talking about maybe July, but no firm timeline. And he appropriately was reprimanded by the New South Wales Treasurer. I mean, this government keeps making promises that it doesn't keep.